My name's Jason Beatty, DM and bartender for Tales from the Harper's Pub. Normally, we're coming to you from the Harper's Pub, but today we're coming to you from Rita's in Valeris in the Night Court. We're going to be talking about some Court of Thorns and Roses themed cocktails and some other cocktails from the Sarah J Masterverse. Stay tuned. So this is my lovely wife,
Hello.
Brittany. Normally we stream me and my buddies playing D&D, but these cocktails and these videos really have to do with her and her passion. So we're going to bring her in, and she's going to explain sort of where these came from and what the context is. I'll say, like, these are fun things that you can use either in your game or just, in general for different parties or different themes that you might have. And I guess we should say minor spoiler alert for
just the Massiverse in general. Like he said, most of these cocktails are based on ACOTAR, the entire series, but there are two that also are in Crescent City and Throne of Glass. So just warning before you watch this,
fair warning.
just in case.
Nice. So, Britt, do you want to give us the background on why we're doing this and kind of where this came from?
Yeah, sure. So I, like many, am a big ACOTAR / Massiverse fan. And for my 32nd birthday this year, I decided to indulge in my hyperfixation and ask all my friends to have an ACOTAR birthday party with me where everybody dressed up. It was awesome.
If you can't tell, I am Rhysand, but when he's in his Robert Baratheon phase and he's the breastplate stretcher.
Listen. I had a ball. It was amazing. But I wanted to really immerse us in the in Prithian. So, like Jason said, we are in Rita's right now, in the Night Court, not North Carolina. And so I hope you like these cocktails. None of them are necessarily super, super original, but I think that each one lends itself to the story and to its title.
Nice. So we have some note cards. So each one of these, there are a total of 5 or 6 cocktails. Each one of these has a recipe on it. Britt is going to read the cocktail, give us some context behind how it relates to the book series, and then she's going to tell me how to make it.
So the first one, and honestly the one that was probably my favorite, is called Rhysand's Bathwater. Solely just because I really love that character. I mean, he's a hot shadow daddy, High Lord of the Night Court, So, and also I loved Saltburn, and I was like, if there's anybody's bathwater that I would want to drink in the fictional realm, it would probably be his. So basically, Rhysand's Bathwater is a delicious margarita with a wine float, or a red wine float. If you can get fancy with it and actually float the red wine on top, it looks really cool. But if not, just like throw some in there. Also, to make it kind of, lend itself to the story, we added some shimmer dust, edible shimmer dust. Make sure it's edible. To just to kind of like bring in the whole Night Court starry theme and give props to our High Lord.
Nice. So the recipe?
Yes. So we are going to start off with. And this can be a build shake. It's like you don't have to get too crazy with it until the very end with the red wine.
I'm doing it in a mixing glass solely because of the luster dust, and I want to make sure it gets mixed in, but normally I'd probably use something else.
Yeah, it's totally fine. So it's 1.5 ounces of silver tequila.
All right.
I mean, you could use reposado, but I think silver is totally fine. I think you should make sure you have a good one. Like we use Corlejo for ours. It's a solid tequila. Not too expensive. I think it's like about $30 at the liquor store, at least in Pennsylvania it is. So obviously a base of a good margarita is a delicious tequila.
All right.
And then we're going to do 1/2 ounce of triple sec. We use a lot of triple sec, so kind of need a big bottle. And again, like, you don't need to get Cointreau or anything crazy, just like your normal run of the mill. And then we're doing 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. Now, if you don't know how to know, or if you don't have simple syrup at home, you can easily make it with equal ratio of sugar and water, which I did.
I don't know if you can tell, this is homemade simple syrup.
Yes.
1/2 ounce, you said?
1/2 ounce, yes. Not too sweet. And then an ounce of fresh squeezed lime juice. And you can use, like, obviously just straight up limes. That can be kind of annoying. So getting some, like, nice, not sweet lime juice does the job. Yeah.
Awesome. Then the luster dust?
Yeah, whatever.
All right, just a dash of this. This stuff goes a long way.
Yeah, it really does. Like, literally, like
do
a
another
dash.
actually.
Okay. Well,
Line.
you know. Okay. Now, typically, like, you would mix this with ice and stuff, but you also don't want to bruise the drink and make it all watery. So
you probably can't see the actual luster dust, but hopefully it does have a bathwater type consistency, which is what we're going. If you've seen Saltburn, what we're going for here.
Yeah.
All right, and you recommended pouring this in a rocks glass.
I did.
Cool. So we're gonna do some ice.
I'd fill that baby up.
Okay. That's good. And then we're going to do the red wine drizzle.
Float.
Float.
If you can be fancy with it. If not, either way, it's all going in the same place. But it looks pretty cool if you can float it. Do you want me to help you?
Yes. You
Okay.
can float. That's your... Right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You know,
Go
okay.
ahead.
We'll see. We'll see, guys. So if you have just like a regular spoon at home, this is a mixing spoon. But if you can pour it over top of the spoon, like slowly, should float it a little bit. It's a little bit of a fail, but it does the job. Honestly, this is probably about a half ounce to an ounce to throw in there. And really, you can use any red wine. Really, your preference. We use Pinot Noir for us. I would probably recommend like a like Cabernet Sauvignon or even like a Sangiovese. Nothing like too expensive. Obviously, it's going in a cocktail, so the quality of it doesn't like matter that much. But if you want to get like really in the weeds about pairings and stuff like that, you totally can.
Rhysand's Bathwater.
Cheers.
First drink.
Next is actually from Throne of Glass. So again, spoiler alert. It's named after Aelin Ash River Galathinius herself, the fire-breathing bitch queen, which is a mezcal paloma, essentially. Now, if you've never had mezcal before, it is very smoky, so that can be kind of like a polarizing flavor to some people. But with a paloma, like we put lime juice in it and simple syrup and grapefruit soda. So for our grapefruit soda, we actually ended up using Fresca because it's readily available to us. But also Fever Tree is a great grapefruit soda to use.
So how do I start?
Yeah. So again, you can build this in a tin and shake it up. I would probably recommend that. So you're going to do 1.5 ounces of mezcal.
Okay. Here's our mezcal.
And you'll see at the end, besides the mezcal having a very smoky flavor to it, you'll see why we call it the fire-breathing bitch queen.
Well, who is... Okay, you said who it was named after.
Yes, yes.
All right,
I don't
next?
give too much away because that's like a pretty big
spoiler.
Yeah.
What's next?
But 1 ounce of lime juice. Yeah, so actually, let me just make a real quick caveat, or not caveat, a really quick side note. If you are on your ACOTAR reading journey and you're like, should I read Throne of Glass next or should I read Crescent City next? Read Throne of Glass next. It's a masterpiece. Like, truly, my favorite series probably Sarah J Maas has done. I mean, I love ACOTAR. It has a special place in my heart, but it's amazing. Read it next.
She's no Rebecca Yarros, just saying.
You know. We're not going there. That's controversial.
What's the next thing?
1/2 ounce of simple syrup. Controversial.
I'm just kidding.
On the stream.
That was obviously satire. No offense to Rebecca Yarros. Fourth one was great. All right.
And then I would actually probably shake it up at this point. And then what you're going to do is once it's in the glass, you're going to top it off with the Fresca, the grapefruit soda.
Don't want to shake the soda.
Yeah.
If I shake too hard, my ears will fall off.
So it's not necessary for you to have this in a coupe. For our purposes, it just like looks really pretty. I actually probably would recommend, if you plan on using the garnish that we're using, to use a rocks glass with ice in it so it buoys the lime float. But this will do the job. And it looks pretty. It looks good. It impresses your friends.
So what are we going to garnish it with?
Okay, so we're actually going to garnish it with the carcass of a lime. It's a half of a lime. Basically, like after you squeeze out all your lime juice to prep your cocktail station, make sure you take half of this and just flip it inside out. And then you are going to fill the lime, not with a ton of liquor, but high proof grain alcohol. So for our purposes, we're using Everclear. I think that's pretty readily available, and it's probably the cheapest thing you can get. Did you put that in?
Yeah.
Okay. So you put it in there. Just a little bit. It doesn't have to go crazy.
I was going crazy
There
on
we
that.
go. So, and for these purposes, you can kind of see that it fell into the drink a little bit. It's the lime.
The lime has a hole in it. It's taking on water.
The lime is taking on water. Not through me. Listen, this is supposed to be on fire. The lime carcass didn't work out for us today.
Fail.
We'll remake this one at the end.
Yeah,
Okay.
we gotta remake. When we cut the video, we're gonna redo this one. All right, what's next?
But it really does look awesome if you have a solid lime carcass. People were ordering them all night. She was blazing of glory.
Yeah.
Highly recommend. Next, we have the Suriel Tea Co.
This is my favorite one.
Yes. So if you know anything about the Suriel in ACOTAR, you know that bitch stays spilling tea. I would argue probably the messiest character of the series. But the series isn't over. So, and there's like a lot of mess to go around. But probably my favorite messiest bitch of the series for sure. So yeah, we decided for this cocktail to make it tea-centric. And it's essentially, I would say like an old, like very much in the vein of an old fashioned, but just tried to infuse some tea in our simple syrup. And also we smoke the cocktail glass, just kind of give it like really earthy herbal tones.
So let me talk about that for a minute. So this is a piece of charred oak barrel. You can buy this. And then I put some hickory on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a little tiny bit of this black tea syrup that Britt made.
So yes, I made this black tea simple syrup, and how you make it is very similar to how you make regular simple syrup. What I would recommend you do is take however much water you plan on using with the sugar, your ratio, and you take about, like, let's say for instance, you want to make 2 cups of black tea simple syrup, which is what I did. And I used 4 tea bags in with the water first, and then you take the tea bags out. You let it sit for like 5 minutes. The longer that you leave the tea bags in, the stronger it'll be. Also a bit more bitter. And then you put your sugar in after that. You want to make the tea first and then the sugar. But it really comes out well.
So while I'm making the drink, I'm going to light this, and I'm going to use my torch to really go in circles here until the wood is basically orange and heated up.
Now, this isn't essential for the cocktail. This is just something fun that we
It's
have.
just super cool to do. So while that's filling that glass with smoke, now we're going to make the drink.
And because we did the simple syrup in the glass first, it gives it a chance for the smoke to have something to stick to in the glass.
Yeah. So what's going into the drink, Britt?
So again, this is a shaken cocktail. You could totally build it, but all of these are really versatile in that way. So if you want something like really cold, that's great. So we're going to go 2 ounces of bourbon. Our favorite is Bullet, but again, you can use whatever you like. I probably wouldn't recommend something using super expensive, but if you got the money, why the hell not?
Okay. What else?
We're going to do 4 dashes of Angostura bitters. Now again, like there are many bitter types out there, but for Angostura, it's a bit more herbal and earthy. Oh well. You got an extra dash in there, it won't hurt anybody. And then we're going to do a 1/2 ounce of the tea syrup. Then you want to give that a good shake. Then that cocktail or this glass has been sitting here. Now, again, if you didn't smoke it, you don't have to put the simple syrup in at the front.
Well, got a nice ice ball. See that smoke coming out? Pour it over that.
And now I would recommend garnishing with a citrus peel of your choosing.
Lemon helps to bring out the black tea flavor.
Yep, just like a regular tea would. But you also can do like a traditional orange.
How's that?
Next one is actually from Crescent City, from Lunathion. It is called The Drop. So if you're familiar with Crescent City, again, spoiler alert, I wanted to create something that kind of had like a fun club feel because they go to the White Raven in Crescent City and they like party after they make the drop. And when you make the drop is basically when you're choosing to become immortal. And when you make the drop, you create something called First Light, which we won't get too far into that because that's really spoilery. But we found a way to make it look like First Light, and I'm really, really excited about it.
Cool. So how do we start?
It's essentially a fun lemon drop. So we're going to start off with 2 ounces of vodka.
Where's my vodka?
Is it on the ground? Oh, no, it's right there.
Oh, there we go.
So we use good old Tito's. It's a great base. Again, probably wouldn't use something like super expensive, but Tito's is always good.
That's good.
Okay. And then we're going to use a 1/2 ounce of lavender simple syrup. So again, I made this at home. I'm sure you can get it online somewhere. It's not super, super accessible. But if you have access to like dried lavender, I have like lavender right outside of my house that happens to be dried from last year. I took about probably 2 tablespoons of that and put that directly in my simple syrup mixture when I was making it on the stove. Probably leave the lavender in there. I mean, until the simple syrup becomes syrup, and then you strain it out when you put it into a container and it gets lavendery. It's fun.
Nice.
And then 1 ounce of fresh squeezed lemon juice. Now you could probably just use lemonade, but I think it's nice to have like the fresh ingredients, even though this is a bottle, but
That's it, right?
it's still fresh squeezed. No, triple sec. A 1/2 ounce of triple sec.
This was also very popular.
It was very popular. And this is just like shake with ice.
So before I do that, I'm going to get this ready.
Mm-hmm. Let me shake it. You gotta put the...
Pour it in.
I was gonna say. Okay. Okay.
All right. And then this is the best part.
This is where the drop comes in. The first light.
All right.
There we go.
First Light, that was a big hit all night when folks were ordering these. So you got these off Amazon and they are water activated.
Yes. So basically,
glowing ice cubes.
I'm not sure if you can see it that well in this because of the light. But this drink is glowing. On Amazon, I found these water activated glowing light ice cubes, and it just was like a really fun way to immerse yourself kind of in the world. So this last one was like the last like cocktail on the list. It's called Into the Ouroboros, which if you're familiar again with ACOTAR, I'm sure you are if you're watching this, but if not, the Ouroboros was a mirror that basically shows you who you truly are and is known to have sent everybody who's ever looked into it, except our girl Feyre, has sent them into madness. So
She's the only one that's immune.
well, she's not immune, but she looked at it all night and was like, I gotta sit with myself. It's kind of like therapy in like a really intense, condensed version of it.
And an Ouroboros is, if you're not familiar, is a snake eating its
Yes.
own tail. It's generally used to represent infinity.
Okay, well,
All
right.
So this is what would a fairy party be?
Add a little bit absinthe.
Without a little bit of absinthe.
So yes.
We're not even. You can call it out, but I'm not going to measure.
Yeah, no, it's fine. The only thing we need to measure is the creme de violet.
Yeah. So I have this is from the PA Renaissance Fair. They have a whole absinthe garden there. It's pretty dope. I highly encourage it.
Yes.
So we're going to pour a little bit in here. Probably try to shoot for about 2 ounces worth, but like I said, I'm just going to pour it in.
Yeah, you don't have to get too crazy because if you've never had absinthe before, it can be a polarizing flavor. I personally really like it, but it is it's like anise.
Yeah,
like,
it's like...
if you like root beer...
I was going to say, you wouldn't think that it tastes like root beer, but root beer is that like anise flavor with just a ton of sugar.
Yes.
Yeah, or what's another... There's another one.
Well, they say it's like... I guess it'd be like...
Like licorice is another one
or
that
like
kind of tastes like...
Jaeger?
Yeah, well, Jaeger has like a licorice.
Yeah,
I actually think they both have wormwood in them.
Yeah, that's what's supposed to be like the hallucinogenic stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this one can be kind of polarizing, but I wanted to make this the absinthe drink because with the Ouroboros, it's supposed to send you kind of like on a mind...
There you go.
A vision quest, if you will.
Insanity mirror.
Yes.
How much of the creme de violet am I putting in?
So like we said, we have the absinthe, and then to make it kind of fun, and you also can kind of layer this as well, like if you leave it at the bottom, but you don't have to do that. You use an ounce of the creme de violet, and creme de violet, it should be pretty easily accessible at your liquor store. It's basically a floral liqueur. It's just kind of fun. Wanted to do something extra.
Yeah, and it's if you go to New Orleans or anywhere else where absinthe frequently served, they do have a lot of like floral type themes that they serve with it.
Yep.
And I'll say I don't know how easy you can see it on the video, but it does kind of create this really cool swirly effect within the glass, which is one of the reasons that they like absinthe was like the dancing fairies represented the sugar hitting the glass, which we're going to do in a minute, but the creme de violet does it as well. I'm actually going to put some ice in here too.
Yeah, I really felt like I couldn't have a Fey party without having some absinthe.
Yeah. Okay, so...
But be warned, if you buy this at the liquor store, absinthe, it can be kind of pricey. So just heads up. If you're planning a party with this, I would maybe just give that a thought.
So... If you go to, again, New Orleans, they'll have an absinthe fountain with distilled water. And, we have this really cool absinthe spoon that looks like a fairy that we're using. You put the sugar cube on the spoon. I'm going to try to make sure I get the fountain right. Oh, wait a second.
We're testing the drip.
There you go.
Because it's not a full-on, deluge. You have to drip it over top of the sugar cube because it slowly immerses itself.
Yeah, so you want it to drip to Britt's point on the cube. And then as the cube dissolves, that'll take the sugar into the absinthe, make the taste less harsh. And it also creates that effect that we talked about of the dancing fairy.
Yeah, and it actually happens pretty quickly. Not the dancing fairy, the dissolving of the sugar cube.
Some people like the cube on fire. I've heard from folks in New Orleans that that's sacrilegious, but some people do that.
Honestly, do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want.
Whatever you feel.
We're not going to do fire for this particular drink.
Yeah, we've already used enough fire in our, But yeah, this can be, like I said, the flavor isn't for everybody. I personally really enjoy it. But for me, it was like a one and done type guy.
And then a lot of times I like to do a little mixing.
Mix it up a little. And this actually would probably be a really fun cocktail to put some shimmer in too. We didn't do that, but that would be... honestly, any cocktail would be fun to put shimmer in.
But if you can see, it looks super cool, and the colder it gets, the more that kind of milky shimmer effect gets.
Yeah.
This was not ordered frequently because of to your point, not everyone likes absinthe, but this was one of my favorites. I really enjoyed this. So wait a minute.
Yes.
Before we get to the Fey wine,
yeah,
we got my off-menu one that I made.
What did you do again?
I think it's called fairy apple, something like that.
Yeah.
What is the fairy apple? Tell them what the fairy apple is.
Oh, the Feybane. So along with the themed cocktails for my party, I also did themed food. So I did a then eat. If you're familiar with chapter 54, baby, and 55, obviously you can never forget. Akamath, you will know that soup is given to accept the mating bond, and so I wanted to represent that at the party. And I also made there's definitely not Feybane in here, apple crescents, which represents the Feybaned apples in ACOTAR. And
so this is the Feybane apple drink.
Yeah. So Jason was like, I didn't know that, and he also loves apple pucker. And this was the secret. This is the secret menu.
This is really my I call it my manly appletini.
Yeah.
But it's so we're gonna start with some Jack Daniels.
I was like, I'm not putting that on the list, but you can make it if you want to.
It was a secret off menu item. So we're gonna do 2 ounces of Jack Daniels. That's gonna be our poison in the poison apple. And then we're gonna do just an ounce of apple pucker. And then we're going to top with Sprite. I like serving this in the little mason jar. It's a build, as you can see.
It's basically just a build apple teeny.
It's a build appletini with whiskey.
With whiskey.
And Sprite. That's actually
but you know
a
what?
lot different.
I'm happy for you. I don't think any Fey party is complete without some Fey wine. Now, Farah is notoriously told by multiple people, don't drink the wine. And she's like, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. Which, same.
This is a kid-friendly channel.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just kidding.
She said
just
F. So, whilst I recommend if you don't have a meadery near you, just get like a array of different wines, throw some shimmer dust in there and call it a day. We do actually have a meadery near us. Well, near us is relative. Called Stonekeep Meadery. So I actually purchased their OG like regular mead, their elderberry mead, and also this is called Lavender Metheglin, which, if I remember correctly, is a mix between the honey wine and other flavoring. I could be completely butchering that, but regardless.
Meadery, comment and let us know.
Yes, if you
know
make
mead.
honey wine, you make mead, let me know, because I really could be butchering that. So with this lavender metheglin, because there is such a small amount, I was like, how do I make this like kind of go far? And so with this, we decided to add Prosecco. And it ended up being a really delicious, very refreshing. No.
How do you get that off?
Spring court.
Slide easier.
Spring court themed wine. Now remember. Because drinking this.
For anyone on the first book.
Yes.
This is inspired by Tamlin, who is the best character.
Tim Tam's Fiddling Fey wine, I called it.
And everyone likes him throughout the entire series. He continues to be the favorite.
He does continue. Yeah. He's worried about it.
So we're going to pour in just a little bit of this, right?
Yeah, probably about an ounce. Like nothing crazy because it does have a lot of flavor to it. That's enough. Okay. Perfect. And then you just top it off with some Prosecco. Now, reminder, Fey wine gets to you.
If you can't tell, I have a heavy hand.
That's okay. And disclaimer, might make you twerk that thing. Which, honestly, if you're having a party.
Yeah, this is good. There were several bottles of mead that were drank all night.
Especially because you can't get it.
Some people just like the mead. That's what they wanted.
Yeah, just raid your local Renaissance fair.
Yeah.
Or honestly, getting like to maybe try to recreate this. Get like a really sweet wine, like a really desserty wine, and then like a little bit, and then top that off with Prosecco, and that might give you kind of the same deal. But
before we go and say our goodbyes.
Yes.
Well, actually, we'll still say our goodbyes, and then we can do the. Because I'm lighting that lime thing on fire.
I know.
We're not leaving until that happens.
I know. I just want to say, I hope that you found some inspo for your Sarah J Maas / ACOTAR party.
I've never read these books, if you can't tell, but everyone had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They thought it was a blast. I think even from a D&D lens, there's a lot of like Feywild, Eladrin, like things like you could totally do a ACOTAR derivative campaign very easily.
Well, Sarah J Maas actually in all of her books, and specifically in ACOTAR, takes a lot of inspiration from like lore already out there. Like specifically, I mean, I know I'm trying to see how spoilery I get, but we gave a disclaimer. Specifically for Koshki, the one kind of like being deity in the lake, is based off of like a Russian lore. So she really takes like a lot of stuff already that's out there and kind of like puts it into the story.
Yeah. So I hope this is fun. Try some of these cocktails. If you have any ACOTAR cocktails that you created, please feel free to share them in the comments below or make a suggestion. We really appreciate you tuning in. We'll be posting this to YouTube as well. Everyone have a great rest of your night and continue to embrace your inner nerd and party.
Hell yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. All right, there we go. Successful. And all night we were turning off the lights, which made it super cool. Yeah. Computer, turn off the basement lights.
Okay.
Oh. There you go. Have a good evening.